Welcome to Marketing Made Simple TV. My name is Jeff Ogden, the host of the show, and we're really happy to have you back again. And we have another wonderful guest on the show. Let me introduce him. Brian Kardon is the Chief Marketing Officer of Lattice Engines, big data company. Prior to that, he was the CMO of Eloqua, taking it from about 15 million to 100 million. Before that, he's been with large companies like Forrester Research and others. But he does something really fun. He's a great tenor sax player too. So he's a man of many talents. So let's welcome Brian to the show.
Hey Jeff, how are you? Good to be here.
Good to have you here, Brian. And yeah, I've known you a long time, and I'm excited to have you on the show, especially to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is what the heck is going on in marketing automation.
But before we do that, you know, my pal Jeff Hazlitt, he put on his big honking cowboy hat, and I see you in your hat, which always reminds me of kind of a mobster kind of a look. And so I don't, you know, I'm a New Englander, and it's a wicked cold morning this morning, so I'm just going to warm up a little bit here, and it's just a little cold here. So although I haven't seen myself in this hat, and now that I see myself, I can't hear you because of these ear things, and I look kind of stupid. I don't think you can take me seriously. But at least I got a laugh out of you this morning, Jeff, which always makes me happy.
Hopefully we're going to get a laugh out of our audience, because I'm just the host. So.
So where the hell is marketing automation going?
Yeah, but before I do that, I'm going to ask you the question I ask every guest on the show. Who are you and what do you do? Let's start off with that.
Yeah, I'm Brian Kardon, and I've been a career CMO, and I love marketing. And I work for a terrific company in the big data for sales space. And what we do is we help sales organizations to dramatically improve their productivity by harnessing the power of big data from external sources, from social media, and from internal data as well. So it's a hot space, as you said, big data, and I can't think of anything more vital on the CEO's agenda than top-line growth.
Very good. Now, before you joined Lattice Engines, you obviously worked for Eloqua. And you've been kind of watching what's going on in the industry. Eloqua went public. Marketo's probably going to go public. You've got upstarts like Kardon, and there's, you know, you swing a cat, you're going to hit 5 marketing automation companies. So, what the heck is going on?
Well, you know, any attractive space that's growing fast will get a lot of new competitors coming in. So just a little quick evolution of the space. So about 8 or 9 years ago, there was nothing called marketing automation. Eloqua was the pioneer, the leader, and they were getting some traction. And that success really led to a lot of other companies entering the space. So around that time, 5, 6 years ago, companies like Marketo, HubSpot, others sort of entered the space. And I think it's just sort of a natural evolution of most categories that a hot space attracts new competitors. And the space today is sort of, shaping out very nicely, I think pretty cleanly, the way a lot of spaces have gone in technology. The enterprise level, Eloqua was first. Eloqua sort of dominates enterprise clients who are looking very sophisticated approach, have global deployments. I think it's sort of the mid-size. We're seeing Marketo has done very, very well. And I think for very small companies, I think HubSpot's really a tremendous leader. What's particularly interesting is what you said, and that is what's going to happen in 2013. You have 2 companies kind of about the same size, Marketo and HubSpot. They both have terrific marketers who I'm very friendly with. Mike Volpe over at HubSpot, who is a super smart guy, and of course John Miller, who runs marketing and content over at Marketo and is one of their founders. So I think 2013 is shaping up to a year where they'll probably go public. The other thing happening is that marketing automation is attracting the interest of much larger companies who are somehow touching marketers and sales. As you know, Unica was bought by IBM a few years ago, and we've seen some other consolidation going on. Primo was bought by Teradata, a big data company, and I think a lot of people are saying, could CRMs, could other companies like Adobe perhaps enter this space? We're also, Jeff, seeing the emergence of the marketing cloud. You know, so there are 2 marketing clouds, maybe more. One is the social marketing cloud that Salesforce has successfully launched by integrating Buddy Media and Radian6. And of course, Adobe has a marketing cloud as well, integrating a lot of their assets. At the core of that is Omniture, which is web analytics. So a lot of action, Jeff.
It's interesting, and I think we're going to see a lot of change too. And you also didn't mention, but I believe ExactTarget bought Kardon too, right?
Exactly right. So
Yeah.
that's another interesting dynamic. So I think that there are the email service providers, ESPs, like ExactTarget, Response, a few others. ExactTarget, of course, went public in the past year. They've sort of been dinged by the investment community as sort of one-trick ponies. They're email blasters without a lot of sophistication. They don't offer tracking, nurturing, scoring, some of the core things that marketing automation offers. So I think ExactTarget did a pretty smart thing in acquiring a company with good functionality and a good customer list in marketing automation. So that is new competition, clearly, in marketing automation. I don't know where they are with integrating the products and offering it, but it looks to me like that was a pretty smart thing to do. And I believe they paid a very, very large premium for that company. There are not too many marketing automation companies that are independent, and if ExactTarget wanted to enter the space, they could either try to build it themselves or acquire, and they made the choice to acquire and pay a very large premium for that acquisition.
Interesting, and there's certainly we're going to see many more changes in the years ahead. Now, there's been a change too with Eloqua and Marketo, where they don't call themselves marketing automation anymore, right? They call themselves revenue performance management. Is this painting racing stripes on a donkey? I mean, what's your take on this?
Well, they're trying to create a category. There's a CRM category, there's a social media category, there's sort of a mobile category. So they're trying to help the analyst firms like Gartner and IDC and Forrester sort of think about the space a little bit differently. And I think over time they viewed that phrase marketing automation as sounding kind of in the bowels of the organization. Marketing automation is something for someone 5 clicks down from the CMO who's sending out emails. But in fact, if you look at the history of marketing automation, the real benefit is to higher lifts in sales productivity, higher conversion rates, and top-line growth. So I think that the companies have been very smart at sort of reframing the discussion from purely one about how do we automate marketing campaigns and processes to how do we grow top-line revenue. So revenue performance management is sort of a category that a couple of companies have begun to use as a phrase. I think when you think about revenue, it gets the attention of senior people. I think that's been a challenge to some of the marketing automation companies. How do you get the attention of the CEO or the CMO when marketing automation is the name of the category? People immediately think it's sort of a technology for people within the marketing operations function only.
Interesting, and I saw some data that I forget exactly whether it was this year or next year, but that CMOs are going to outspend CIOs in terms of budget dollars. What is happening in the world of marketing in general?
Gartner made that forecast early part of this year of 2012, and it was a really good forecast because what we see is that increasingly there are a lot of things that are falling under the CMO. They've always had a whole bunch of technology in their backbone, but it's coming more and more. So it's things like web analytics, it's social media monitoring, it's email, it's marketing automation, it's probably CRM and other tools, probably content management systems as well. Part of also of the spend is about the customer experience, the website. If they're a company that's doing e-commerce, there's a whole bunch of technology backbones for marketers there. But I think another big part that's happening now is sort of the big data and understanding more about customer insight. And so all those things have moved over time and been distributed to the CMO. I think when they were enterprise software, that is, they ran on the company's own machines, that would be within the domain of the CIO. But increasingly, it's all cloud-based, and it's very easy to turn on. And so the marketing team is taking responsibility for these things. And so we're seeing the rise of the CMO in terms of their budgets and their responsibilities. The other thing, Jeff, that we're seeing, and I think Scott Brinker has got a great blog on this, it's about the marketing technologist. That, as you know, there's been sort of a 20-year ride from right brain marketing to left brain marketing and the emergence of digital marketing, and it's just become mainstream. And if you're not a digital native, you're not thinking actually about search, and you're sort of still in the arts and crafts department where you're thinking about the colors on the website and the typeface, and let's do a fun campaign, let's buy some billboards and some airport advertising. Marketers today aren't thinking that way. They're thinking in terms of measurement, clicks, online behavior, optimization, and getting found on Google and Bing and other places. So the world of marketing has been turned upside down by digital marketing. And we're seeing the rise of the digital marketer and the left brain marketer.
It certainly is getting much more, left-brained approach. But one of the things, we have a nice content offer thanks to Lattice Engines, and I want to just mention this: the Harnessing Big Data document that you have from Harvard Business Review. There's an offer right here, button here for it, and Lattice Engines specializes in big data, and it's a very concise information about how to use big data in your business. So I'd suggest you click the button at the top and register and download this great document from Lattice Engines.
Thanks, Jeff. It's really a good way to get sort of a summary of what's going on with big data, particularly what are some of the leading companies doing, how are they using it, how are marketers starting to think about big data. And this goes way beyond just sort of the marketing automation data. Who opened my email, my unsubscribe rates. This is sort of a huge volume of data. And what we're finding is that sales reps and marketers are sort of overwhelmed, and so they have to really make sense of all the noise. And the marketers that are doing it well are really achieving incredible performance. And there's a laggard category, a group of people that just aren't embracing it yet, and they're going to be falling behind. So thanks for making that available. It's on our website, and that would be great if people come to lattice-engines.com to pull down the report on harnessing big data.
There's actually a button in the show. They'll be able to click, and it'll take them directly to the landing page for that.
That's great. Thanks, Jeff.
Yes. Now, one other experience in your background is you used to work for Eloqua, and you said you took them from 15 to around 100 million. But you said at some point you decided it's time to go.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of marketers that watch this show. How do you know when it's?
Yeah, it's a great question. When I look back at my career, I usually stay places about 4 to 5 years, and I have the belief that if you can't get your job done in 4 to 5 years, and that is, bringing on the right team of people and setting up the right processes and having the right technology backbone and setting the company on the right path and achieving results in 4 years, you haven't done your job. And so in the place I've been, like Eloqua, Forrester Research, Reed Elysevier, I've always been those places between 4 and 5 or 6 years. And I always felt it was time to go when I didn't see the huge challenges anymore. The other thing that I personally look for, Jeff, is an industry in transition and also fast growth. So, a good example is I joined Reed Elysevier, which is a content and publishing company around the world, and that was sort of the movement from paper to electronic publishing. And we bought LexisNexis and a whole bunch of other digital assets. The other one was, of course, Eloqua. I saw that marketing automation was just starting to emerge, and we had just a handful of early adopters, and I was able to ride that huge growth. And about a year ago, I was starting to see the emergence of big data as a huge category. So to the marketers who are watching this, in terms of career advice, 2 things. One is you want to attach yourself to a fast-growing industry. You could be the best newspaper publisher in the world, but that's an industry in decline. So you want to find an industry that's growing, because a rising tide lifts all boats. And the second thing is you'll know when it's time to go when you don't have the excitement anymore and you feel that you've done what you came to do. For me, I like to build organizations and build processes much more than just sort of maintain them. And for me, that's very exciting. The maintenance of something is not something that I want to be around for. So I kind of felt the timing was right. I was there about 4 years. We had a terrific run. And by the way, that movement from about 15 million to 100 million, that is clearly not solely me. I worked at Eloqua, and I developed some amazing friendships. They have an incredible group of talented people there, very hardworking, and they have a great product. And so I think that marketing played a big role in their success, but it was definitely a team effort.
Interesting, and I like that advice to always look for industries that are growing quickly and where's the next area of growth. In terms of preparing, like let's say you're working as a top marketing executive in a company, and like Paul Denay's been on the show, he's a good friend. He writes a blog, he's out there, he does webinars, he's doing all kinds of things all the time that's not necessarily related to his business. How important is it for a CMO to market himself or herself beyond just doing the day-to-day job?
It's becoming increasingly important for a couple of reasons. First is the CMO increasingly is the face and the voice of the company. Clearly, the CEO is the voice and the face to the investment community, but increasingly the CMO is the voice and face to the customers, to prospects, to analysts, influencers, bloggers, and that whole community. So I think CMOs really have to be out there. I think secondly, it's not just talking about your company. I love this book that Ann Hanley and CC Chapman wrote that you probably know called Content Rules. And one of the great rules is don't shill for your company. And I think a lot of marketers are starting to understand that our goal is to educate people and develop a real relationship, not sort of some superficial one where the answer to every question is take a look at our demo and come to our website. So increasingly we want to be very helpful to communities. And thirdly, for me personally, I enjoy getting out there. There's tremendous benefit to talking to a range of people. Being on your show is interesting for me. I think it helps get our name out there. It helps me get out there. I'm pretty interested in tweeting. I do an external blog probably about once a month. This month I did a blog in Media Post in the Destination CRM. And so I like to write, for outside websites and for different bloggers. And it certainly helps with Google search in terms of authoritative inbound links, but it also helps to get different messaging out there and to be seen as a marketer who is genuinely helpful to the marketing community. So I think it's very, very helpful. And I think we're starting to see the emergence of a class of CMOs. I know you're very close to Beth Comstock over at GE, and she's been voted the #1 most social CMO out there. I know Beth, and she's amazing. She travels around the world, and she blogs, and she goes on shows. She doesn't just talk about what GE is doing. She's talking about great, helpful things for marketers around the world, and I think she's a great voice. Ken Huffman has a list of the top 100 most followed CMOs on Twitter, and that's a great list to follow of CMOs who are really out there. And a rule that I use, my friend David Meerman Scott, who's written a couple of amazing books on marketing, sort of talks about this advice, and that is for all your tweets or all your comments, maybe 1 in 10 should it all involve your company, and maybe 90% are there to help people and are externally focused. So I don't think CMOs ought to be retweeting press releases and linking to the website all the time. You really have to provide very valuable information for their audiences, and it's sort of a different mindset.
Very interesting, Brian. I wish you'd brought your saxophone. You could have played Santa Claus is Coming to Town or something like that would be appropriate for this.
I know it in all keys. I know it, and next time, Jeff, I promise you, we'll do part #2, bring the saxophone.
All right. Well, I got to say, Brian, it's been great talking to you. My last question is, if people want to learn more about Brian Kardon and Lattice Engines and all the things you do and everything, where do you recommend they?
They just have to go and type in Lattice Engines or Big Data for Sales or Brian Kardon into Google, and there's plenty of stuff out there. There's educational things. There are articles like the ones that they can get by watching this today from Harvard Business Review articles. We have lots of information on our website that will be helpful. But just start with a Google search. I think that will help. Jeff, it's getting a little chilly in here again. I think snow's happening here, so I'm going to have to bundle up now. And say thank you very much for the chance to be on your show.
I want to thank Brian Kardon for being a great guest on the show, and I love his hat. I mean, this is becoming a tradition on the show that people wear silly hats on the show, and I think that would be a great tradition to establish for the show. So to all future guests, come up with a crazy hat. Again, before we go, we want to thank our sponsors. Avatage, a great video content marketing company in the Boston area, avatage.com. Digital Ethos, talk about educational content, digitalethos.org. Great stuff. Communication Strategy Group, communicationstrategygroup.com. Brand telling, PR, great stuff. Eloqua, revenue performance management that we're talking about in the show. And lastly, Watch-It provides this great platform. So just to remind you, Marketing Made Simple publishes a new show, premieres a new show every Thursday at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. So until next week, we'll see you next time on Marketing Made Simple TV.